If you'd like to make your NFL games a little more interesting, you've come to the right place. It's the Even Money Podcast with Ross Tucker and Steve Fezzik.
Yeah, Vegas, baby, Vegas. It is the Even Money Podcast, presented, of course, by the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Those are our dudes always, especially this week, as I am broadcasting live from the DraftKings set here, Radio Row in Phoenix, Arizona, the home of Super Bowl LVII. Please check me out on social media, like a lot of you already do, at Ross Tucker NFL. We are at Ross Tucker Pod. Should be noted, I've been talking about this on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast this week, but you get a great chance to get your email question answered by Steve and or be the winner this week on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. All you need to do is rate and review this show on the Spotify app and then send it to me, Ross at RossTucker.com. Again, Ross at RossTucker.com. Rate and review the show on the Spotify app. And you definitely, if you've never done it before, you should check out the show this week on YouTube, youtube.com/RossTuckerNFL, because this set that they have put together at DraftKings is absolutely beautiful. Loving the DraftKings folks always, but especially this week. It's been amazing. Almost as amazing as my guy Steve Fezzik. At Fezzik Sports is the only place you can find him on social media. Steve, how awesome is this set right here?
It just looks incredible, Ross. And you are awesomeness, my man, having had a home run season up around 40 units as I scraped by barely profitable. So accolades to you, Ross Tucker.
Thank you very much. I don't even have it pulled up how we did for the year to this point, but we summarized it last week, so you guys know. I think I'm up 40 units. Steve is up 8 units. We don't really have time for that. I want to get into what we're looking at here with Super Bowl LVII. I guess we'll start, Steve, and I guess we'll start with all of the prop bets that you really like and that you make every year. Because I know some of these, so there's really 3 things we're going to do. 4, I guess. If we have time, we'll get to some email questions. But number 1, it is dive into the prop bets that you basically make every year. Number 2, dive into prop bets that you personally really like this year. Number 3, we'll see if we have a bet on the line or the total for the game. And then number 4, maybe we will get to some email questions. So that's the order we'll go. Let's start, though, with the prop bets, Steve, that you are into and involved in every year. I know you have these tips every year when we start this.
Yeah, so I look to avoid what I call the needle in the haystack bets. No one wins playing these examples. What will the exact final score be? Exactly how many points will Kansas City score? Who will the first touchdown be made by? These are the bets that the books make all their money on. There's huge vig associated with those player first to score, last to score, exact final score bets. Pros avoid those. Pros want to bet on stuff you can bet a yes or a no. 2 outcomes, an over or an under. 2 outcomes, and they bet over or under, etc. Also, pros tend to gravitate towards betting a lot to win a little. It's counterintuitive because the public loves to bet long shots. They love to bet on things where they say, oh, well, that could happen. Extreme examples. Will there be a recovered onside kick? Will the game go overtime is an example of a bet. I bet no every year, minus 1,000 or less. So yes, I risk 10,000 to win 1,000. I lost 1 year. You know what? The other 55 years I won. There's only been 1 overtime. So bets like that, the pros oftentimes are not afraid to be laying the vig. One more betting tip, Super Bowls tend to start slower. So if you're betting the totals, pros gravitate towards looking towards a higher second half, a lower first half, and they bet second half to outscore first half is a pretty common bet that pros make in the Super Bowl.
Okay, so you bet no on Super Bowl overtime every year, right?
I do, although it's not as, you know what, 10, 15 years ago, you could bet the no at minus 600, Ross. Now the best number we're probably going to get to minus 900. So it's not as good as it once was. It's still good, however. Best number currently available is minus 1,000, but I think it'll get better because the public will come in and they'll be like, this game's line close to pick 'em. I can see there being an overtime, and they'll bet yes on that prop bet.
Okay, then what about the onside kick? Did you say an onside kick bet?
Yeah, I don't have those exact numbers in front of me, but I just use that as an example. It's really hard to recover successfully an onside kick, but that's one where the public looks at that and says, oh, that could happen. I remember the Saints being successful in their Super Bowl win when they're playing Peyton Manning. So that's the sort of bet that the public bets one way and the pros are always looking to bet the other way.
Got it. What about Gatorade color, national anthem length? What about all of those? I don't even know what you call those. Off the field bets.
I'm going to call it predetermined bets. And what do I mean by predetermined? Obviously, the length of the anthem isn't completely predetermined, but when they rehearse it, word gets out on how long the anthem was during the rehearsal, and then you see dramatic line moves, even more dramatic, oftentimes the color of the Gatorade. Someone knows how long the anthem's going to be. Someone knows what the colors of the Gatorade will be. So you don't want to be handicapping this and guessing. You want to have a friend at the stadium site, at the rehearsals for the singing of the songs that's taping how long they are. You need inside information to win. If you don't have the inside information, follow the money. Whichever way you're seeing dramatic bets being made, let's say purple is 6-1 and purple goes down to 2-1. Well, there's a real good chance one of the sidelines at least has purple Gatorade. Same thing with the anthem. If you're seeing, the over was minus 110 2 days ago, and now the over is minus 190, the anthem's going over. Someone has that information.
So speaking of off the field stuff, Steve, like drinks and stuff, how about food? I mean, you got to get ready for your Super Bowl party. You got to get ready for Valentine's Day. Fall in love with flavor when you save on delectable dishes and tantalizing tastes from Omaha Steaks with their Love at First Bite sale. See, like I like stuff like that, right? I like the play on words there, Love at First Bite. Go to omahasteaks.com, use promo code EVEN at checkout, and get $30 off your order. That's $30 off a ridiculous variety of gourmet foods. Tender steaks, juicy burgers, they got the desserts, the comfort meals, every bite guaranteed to be perfect. They've got the 100% satisfaction guarantee. No one comes close to matching the flavor, tenderness, and value of Omaha Steaks. Order today and share a special meal with your special someone. Visit omahasteaks.com. Use promo code EVEN at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required. All right. Any other off-the-field props that we should know about, Steve? You're calling them predetermined, which I think is an interesting way to describe them. Any other ones that we should be watching, or is it simply a matter of be watching the screen, and once you see movement on the anthem length, once you see movement on Gatorade flavor, follow the money and just jump on it?
Spot on. Regarding the coin toss this year, nothing really to add. Both teams have a long history when they win the coin toss of deferring, which is unfortunate, which means I don't know who's going to get the ball first. It's about a 50-50 proposition. I will say this. Whoever wins the coin toss is a monster favorite to defer. If you do see that prop, I have not seen that, bet yes, the winner of the coin toss will indeed defer their choice.
Anything else before we get to some of the game-specific props?
Just how pros bet the Super Bowl. Every pro I know that I respect has more money on the Super Bowl than any other game over the course of the season. Having said that, we don't have our money on the side. We don't have our money on the total. The reason we have more money is because there's thousands of props to bet on, such that with such a huge volume available, inevitably there's going to be value to be had betting on the select props.
Okay, well, let's dive into them. What are some of the ones that jumped out to you that you have gotten in on?
So basic strategy is to look to play select players over early in the cycle and oftentimes get to it before the public gets to it. And then we can figure out what to do with it on game day after the public bets it over even more. So examples, Kansas City, two obvious plays. Mahomes over. I bet him over 285, over 288 for his pass yards. Keeps going up, up, up. Kelsey, I bet over 6.5 for his receptions, minus 140. That's still available. I'm going to make that a best bet on this show for me. It's a play for me. Kelsey, over 6.5 catches, minus 140. On the Eagles side, I bet Sanders in various props. He only got 11 carries in the NFC title game. He didn't play in the fourth quarter. I think that was load management. The game was decided. So I expect he'll get more carries. Sanders over 13.5 is for carries in the Super Bowl is another best bet that I'm putting out there.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. So that's an interesting game flow, Steve, if you look at it, because if Sanders is getting that many carries, it would seem the reason that you kind of think the Eagles have the lead, but that probably plays into well for you to have Mahomes throwing the ball that much, including the Kelsey, maybe trying to come from behind. Am I reading the tea leaves correctly?
Your conclusion is logical, but actually, I think one of the greatest overrated pieces of advice that everyone gives out, frankly, and I disagree with everyone, where they say handicap the game, come up with your projected final score, and then bet the props based upon your projected score. Like suddenly your projection is more significant than the entire world that's projecting a 26-25 Philadelphia Eagle victory in this game. A great projection is Philly 26, Kansas City 25. Sportsbooks are taking hundreds of thousands of dollars from anyone on this game. The biggest sports books. This number is correct. It's rough. If it's off by no more than a point. So I would base your handicapping assuming it will be a close game. And if it's a close game, the Eagles should keep running and Kansas City should keep passing.
Interesting. Okay. Any other props that jump out to you, Steve?
You know, the one player that I would say don't bet early, it's Hurts on passing yards. I think the story's been about Mahomes' health. I question whether Hurts is even close to 100%. He didn't have to pass much at all in the playoffs, and he didn't. And I think the Eagles are going to keep emphasizing the run, keep the ball away from Kansas City. It would not surprise me after the season's over if all of a sudden Jalen Hurts has to have surgery on his shoulder. I don't think he's 100% fully. And so I bet him under 242 pass yards as one of the big name people that early on I felt I got to get in on the under before other people bet this. I think that's one of the good under bets on the Super Bowl.
What was the number, Steve?
241.5 is the current number at DraftKings, under 241.5. I'll make that a play as well.
But these are not nearly as good, Steve. How many units on that, by the way?
I'll go 2 units across the board on all my prop bets.
These are not nearly as good as like the NFL draft bets where we kind of have the information and the insider information comes out and we're able to jump on. I mean, these are still very much projections.
Exactly right. The pros, pulling back the curtain, the pros love the draft. How much so? Well, the bookmakers hate the draft. There's some books that have stopped booking bets on the draft. They've gotten pummeled so bad by the pros that they're just cursing out the draft. And it makes sense. It goes back to, it's not predetermined, but it kind of is that some of these players' projections are just so off that an example, some of the quarterbacks, Circa put up over-unders last year on when they would go like 131st and they would get picked like 79th. There was no way some of these quarterbacks were going to fall, into the middle of the fourth round last year. And I can tell you, Circa is sick and tired of booking NFL draft picks. They've gotten crushed on it the last couple of years.
Well, I know I'm sick and tired, Steve, and you probably are as well, of paying money for subscriptions that you don't actually even use anymore, which is why I've been telling people on all my shows, Rocket Money. It's formerly known as Truebill. It's a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions. 12. Think about that. If you're just an average person, you have 12. I know right now you guys don't even know all 12. You probably don't even barely even know half of them at this point. Over 80% of people that have subscriptions, forget about them. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you, and they even cancel it for you. You literally just press the cancel button on the Rocket Money app. You don't have to call. You don't have to tell them you don't want to do it. You want to cancel. No, they handle it for you. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/evenmoney. That's rocketmoney.com/evenmoney. rocketmoney.com/evenmoney. All right, Steve, I already know what you're going to say. We're going to dive into the game bets now. Currently on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, the Eagles are favored by 1.5. They're laying 1.5, and the total is 51. You were very clear last week, Steve. You do not tease the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would love to tease the side. That's solid. You know, the long teaser, Kansas City up to 7.5. But the problem is I need something to tease it with. Teasing totals, Ross, without going into all the nuances of the math, it's God cannot win, because the extra chance that you're going to win with that extra 6 points just isn't that significant. So bottom line, don't tease the Super Bowl. It's a bad bet.
So it feels like to me, Steve, and correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like 51 is a really tough number, you know, because 27-24 could easily be the score. I feel like if it was 50.5, I would kind of like the over a little bit more. If it was 51.5, I'd probably like the under. I mean, I think I've been saying on a lot of my shows this week that I kind of like the score to be 27-24. So 51, I feel like they've kind of nailed it with this total right now. What do you think?
I think you're spot on. And let's do a little math, not too much for everyone. Let's assume it lands right on 51, common score 4% of the time. So over 50.5, you're going to win 52%. It's almost a break-even bet. Under 51.5, you're going to win 52%. Almost a break-even bet. If you got it at reduced vig, you would be profitable. You see the value of those extra half points around a key number. At 51, I have no interest. If it goes higher than 51, I start leaning under. If it goes the other way, I'll start leaning over. I know that's wimpy and wussy. You know what, Ross? I make a whole lot of bets. I'm betting way more than any of you out there. You know how much I'm betting on the current number on the side and total? 0.0. Hey, it's the Super Bowl. Make a bet, have fun, but that's not where your edge is.
No, I would agree. I've got nothing on the total. Man, I got to be honest with you, Steve. It's really just kind of a lean to the Eagles for me. I feel like, you know, for the listeners, I want to put something on it. So I guess I'll put 1 unit on the Eagles laying the 1.5, but I think the line's about right. I'll put 1 unit on the Eagles laying the 1.5. I will also say this. I'm going to go in on a couple of your props. I'm going to go in on Mahomes over passing yardage. And what is it right now, Steve? Do you have it pulled up?
Yeah, Mahomes is right around 293. It varies from book to book.
Oh, my gosh. It's that high now?
Yeah, so that's just a lean for me at this point, because it's gone up. So I'm only leaning Mahomes over at the current number. I am still playing Kelsey over the 6.5 catches, though.
I'm going to go Kelsey over 6.5 catches, 2 units. So that's a best bet.
The best bet.
I'm not going to go with you on Miles Sanders because I think that they've liked what Gainwell has done as of late. So I'm not going to think that Sanders necessarily gets 14 carries. As for Hurts, I kind of like the under as well there, but man, I just don't know if the Chiefs play it a certain way, then he could end up having a couple big throws down the field. I'm gonna go with you though on the under for Hurts. I don't think he gets to 240. That's a lot of yards. I mean, he hasn't even thrown for 200. I don't think the last couple games. So I'll go with you 2 units under Jalen Hurts, 242 passing yards for another best bet.
The best bet.
All right. So just to confirm here, neither one of us has a bet on the total. I have 1 unit on the Eagles laying the 1.5. I have 2 units, like you, on Kelsey over 6.5 receptions. That's a best bet. Steve has 2 units on Miles Sanders over 13.5 carries. We both have 2 units on the under Jalen Hurts 242 passing yards. Am I missing anything, Steve, in terms of the official bets?
That is it for the official bets. I'm going to throw one out there that we're not going to grade as an official bet because I don't want to grade a high vig play. But there's on DraftKings, there's quarter versus quarter under the quarters category. Which quarter will be higher scoring? First quarter is matched up with fourth quarter. This dovetails perfectly to my handicap of almost every Super Bowl where scoring increases throughout the game. So I'm going to personally be betting fourth quarter minus 175 versus first quarter. This isn't an official play because I don't want to grade me on a minus 175 play. That's not fair. But I love fourth quarter to outscore first quarter.
Love that, Steve, just like I absolutely love Labatt Blue Light. Listen, everyone right now is going to be watching the Super Bowl. If you're listening to this podcast or you're watching it, which you should because this set they have for me at DraftKings is incredible, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL, or you can just check it out on social media at Ross Tucker NFL or at Ross Tucker Pod. We'll post the clips from this show on all of the different platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, so you can see this beautiful set where I'm at. But you also need to make sure you're all set for the Super Bowl. And the way to get all set is to pick up some Labatt Blue Light. There's no better way to watch the Super Bowl than with the pristine Canadian goodness of a cold Labatt Blue Light in your hand. Stock up. Be the MVP of your tailgate or even just your Super Bowl party and share a Labatt on game day with your crew. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. Steve, I love when we get a chance to get to at least one email question because we've got so many people that want to ask you questions all the time. And the best way to do it is to take advantage of any of our sponsors, like I always say, or this week, just rate and review the show on Spotify and then email that to me, ross@rosstucker.com. Once you do that, you will go to the top of the list for asking Steve an email question next week. Remember this, too. This show is year-round. We start to talk about season win totals. We talk about things all year. We'll recap everything we've got going here. With grades, we'll come on the show. We'll recap the entire year. We'll have other experts come on. We do dive into March Madness and a lot of the other sports. So just because this is the last official NFL game, look, Steve might get into the USFL and XFL later. He's done well with that in other years. So make sure you're hitting me up with the email questions. Make sure you're staying subscribed and listening to the show or watching it. And make sure you're hitting me up with the email questions. Let's get to one right now.
Ever wanted to ask a professional sports bettor a question? It's time to Ask Steve.
All right, Steve. This actually comes from a Princeton grad who graduated right before I was there. And I don't know him, but evidently he played football and lacrosse. His name is Ben Strutt. Steve, you are one of the best at predicting line movement. But with respect to bankroll management and discipline, how do you manage your position in the rare instance when you make a max bet and the line surprisingly moves against you and you still like the play? I assume it depends a lot on whether you think you know what the market is misperceiving, but I'm especially curious if your first inclination is generally adding more, holding, or buying out. He said, P.S. Of course, key numbers would be a primary factor on point spread bets, so perhaps the topic is most clarified with respect to money line bets. Thank you. That's from Ben Strutt. Good question, Ben.
Yeah, it is a great question. In general, I'm a little bit different than the average person because I bet my bets and then I give them out to my clients. So if I release my plays to my clients, let's say I give out a play on college basketball. This isn't a play I give out, but Duke +4. And then all of a sudden, Duke +5 appears. I'm like, uh-oh, I probably missed something here because the money's coming the opposite of what I actually bet. I rarely add more to my bets. I rarely try to get out of my bets. I pretty much hold and don't make any further bets because obviously the marketplace is disagreeing with what I saw. Now, if I find some key information that I missed, an injury, the like, a key player is out, sometimes that will cause me to try to bet back the other side to get, and it doesn't have to be the full way, to try to reduce my exposure in a game where there was a key factor there that I became made aware of. An extreme example would be whether I play an over, then I find out there was unexpected 25-mile-an-hour winds that are suddenly forecasted. That's an example where oftentimes if I played over 43, I might even play what they call the Polish middle, where I could lose both bets and play under 42 or under 41.5 even with a revised weather report.
Check him out on social media at Fezzik Sports. I am at Ross Tucker NFL. Tomorrow we'll have Fran Duffy, Eagles X's and O's, breaking down the Super Bowl like only he can. Fantasy Feast with Joe Dolan. We'll dive into every skill guy in the Super Bowl. You're going to want to make sure you check that out as well. I'm at Ross Tucker NFL. We are at Ross Tucker Pod. Cannot wait to recap the Super Bowl and break down how we finished the NFL season next week here on the Even Money Podcast. Good luck, everybody. Hope you guys win some money.
Thanks for listening to the Even Money Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, the Fantasy Feast, Business of Sports, and the College Draft. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.